Hello, you know what I wanted to say? The racial hatred that I'm seeing here lately, and I'm talking about people who are supposed to be Christians. See, God didn't use any racial slurs, you know what I mean? So we have to get that, establish that fact, which should be known by everybody. In Genesis chapter 1, God said, let us create man. That's Genesis 1 and 26 and then 27. So it said, so God created man in his own image and likeness created he him. He didn't use any racial slurs. He didn't use the N word. He didn't use the C word. He didn't use the S word. He didn't use that. He said, let us create man. Then it says again, I'm going to repeat this, in chapter 20, in chapter 1, verse 27, he said, so God created man in his own image. What we have here is a lot of people who are pretending to be Christians but are race hating. If you think that you're going to go to heaven and races and there's only one, there's only blacks or whites, you are sadly mistaken. This is the flesh. That which is spirit, and that which is flesh is flesh. Hmm? We are made in the image of God. It doesn't say anywhere in the Bible about anybody, heaven is all black people and heaven is all white. Because so if we're saying that we're Christians and we believe in all kind of foolishness like that, we got the wrong faith and we are serving the wrong God. Where we have a separation of the languages, when we go down to Genesis chapter 11, verses 6 and 7, where they were constructing the Tower of Babel. Now we know that was Nimrod's project, but I'm just being brief because we have a lot of race hatred out here by people who are supposed to be calling themselves Christians. Okay, let me get on with it. God went down and he looked, and God said, let us confuse the language. I'm being brief and I'm paraphrasing. In other words, there's nothing that can restrain them. In other words, they were all on one accord. They left God out of their plans and they were going to build a city and a tower that reached into heaven. I'm just paraphrasing. You know this. So it was God in Genesis 11, chapter 11, verse 6 and 7, where God created the different races and the different languages. He said, let us confound the language. And that's where the diversification of race and languages came in. So if you want to get mad at somebody because they're black or white, talk to God since he did it. And that was because of sin. We're going to create a tower that touched in the heaven. And they were all on one accord. All of them. Now you're talking about power. Now you mean to tell me if they can do that for an evil purpose, we can't come together for a godly purpose to serve God? You know, if we came together, we can stop all this race hating. We can stop all this murder. And while we're calling each other, that's an N, that's a C, this is an S. Do you know that we have an enemy in here that can't stand the God we serve and taking over our country? Do you know how many trillions, how much do we owe China and Saudi Arabia? Have you, while we're sitting here supposed to be the moral leaders of the world, and everybody on earth was watching what's going on with us now, we are rapidly turning into to a third world nation. Do you know, the other day, I'm going to give you a brief example of how serious this is. We went to a shopping center, and not one thing we found, piece of clothing, was made in America. That's sad, but we can sit here idly by, stupidly calling ourselves, pretending to be Christians, and calling ourselves, this is the end, that's the C. I wonder what God thinks about that, huh? You know, I want to just get brief into something for you right here. God loves us all, but God hates sin. Oh, don't judge. Oh, really? No, I'm not going to judge. But I'm not going to let myself go down and do. If, like I said before, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. But it also says in Matthew chapter 7, verse 5, what does it say? Did you read it? First take the beam out of your own eye, then you will see enough to take the beam out of your brother's eye. It didn't say not to do anything. It just said make sure that you're right so that you can help correct somebody else. Let me say something. Judgment to condemnation is one thing. Judgment to correction is something else. Now let's get on with it. Do you know 85% of the drug users are non-black? But 74% of those convicted of drug offenses are black. That tells you something. I don't use drugs. I don't walk around with my pants down around my behind, and nobody in my family do. I don't have a cousin, a nephew, or a niece that does that. But yet people have this stupefying thought up in their head, wow, everybody's a thug and a gangster. I'm not a thug or a gangster. I mean, we have to stop this race hating. If we're supposed to be children of God, now I'm just talking to children of God now. If we're supposed to be, the greatest gift of all is love. We are our brother's keeper. You know what I mean? This is sad and this is ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, and not only that, what we also have to save is stop is this unscrupulous legislation proliferating prison slave labor. Do you know what that means? They have literally went to, by big Fortune 500 companies, they have went to governors of each state and said that we will build privatized prisons, but make sure that the beds are 98% full so they can work and make money for us. Now that doesn't. Now this is what the multimillionaires and billionaires are doing. That doesn't sound like they're trying to save jobs, is it? Do you think that's godly? No, that's not. So I just say let us practice more and ask the Lord to help us to love and understand one another before we make a lot of stupid comments. And this is disastrous. People are looking at us and watching us. Oh, those Americans are just phony. They're just hypocrites. You know? But like I said, I'm talking to my Christian brothers and sisters. None of us are perfect, and we all make mistakes. But one thing, I don't want to go to hell for hating somebody based on the color of their skin. You've come too hard. You've come too far, and you fought too hard. God bless you and fight the good fight of faith.